Good morning. It is time to do our ground beef meal prep. I take a 10-pound, I call it the fat boy. This is 73%, but you use whatever percentage it's helping you right now. I've done a lot of 80% and 90% along the way. So you just choose whichever one is going to help you. And I put it off in a crock pot. The reason why I do this is because all the way along through my weight loss, I am not somebody who can just intuitively eat. Some people are really good at that. Some people are not. I am not one of those people. I have to have control. Otherwise, I will just eat and not stop. So I meal prep and I put it in portions that are just for me. You get your own portions, and whether you're carnivore, keto, this is a way that you can mass produce your food. I do not season my meat when I put it in here because when I'm done, I add seasonings. I use seasonings all the way through when I was carnivore because the groups of carnivore that I was in, that's what they did, so I did it too. So you can take a bowl of meat and you can add some Italian seasonings and some Italian cheese, and you have it if you're carnivore. You can add some, Greek seasoning and feta cheese. You can add some Southwest seasonings and some Mexican cheese. You know, you can make this be whatever you want it to be. So I do not personally season it because also I add some water to it and just a little bit. And sometimes I use it as broth for the dogs. I have not been doing that as much lately. Instead, what I've been doing is I add the water, and then when it's done, I pour that out. And I just use the fat that's rendered from these. I use those as fat bombs for my dogs. So I've got them both on low. This is about a 4-hour process. I come in every 1 hour and I chop up the ground beef with a meat chopper. Well, I call it a meat chopper with this right here. I use this every hour and I chop it up, and I'll show you that whenever we do it. Trying to get you right in there so you can see it. So every hour I will come along and I will chop these up. For these big ones, they don't defrost very well. So what I tend to do is the night before I'm going to do them, I just set them out in my sink. I set the whole thing out in my sink and just let it defrost. The center of this is actually still frozen. I set it in at 8 o'clock last night, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and it has been even in this crock pot for 1 hour. So again, if you want to season it, you know, if you like your stuff, you could even add the salt and pepper if you wanted. And if you know you add that to everything, that's something you could do. I tend to not because a lot of times I use this broth for my dogs. So I do not want there to be any seasonings. Also, if you are a purist and you do not put any seasonings on your stuff, then you wouldn't want to use seasonings either. So you do what's best for you and the way you eat. And I will come in here every hour and I will chop it up. And you're going to see the difference in the progression of how it cooks. Right now you can see it's a little bit on the gray on the outside. But this little piece right here is a solid piece of ground beef. So there we go. That is how I will do it every hour. And I might forget to come bring y'all along. Don't be mad if I forget one time. So we have just finished our 2nd hour, and it's time to chop up our ground beef. You'll notice the outer edges are starting to brown. So I just kind of stir it up a little bit, and you will know when it's done because instead of just the outer edges being brown, all of it will be brown. You could probably not do this every hour, maybe every other hour, but I prefer to do it every hour as it goes along, you're going to notice that it gets fattier. You know, the liquid inside, it's, you know, the rendered fat gets more and more. So it gets more and more oily, which is fine. And at the end of my meal prep, in case I forget to record it, I will pour all the liquid out into a big cookie sheet pan, and I will freeze it. And like I said, that will be my fat bombs for the dogs. Hopefully I will remember to record it, but if I do forget to record it, that's what I do. I just pour it all out into one big cookie sheet. Actually it's a sheet cake pan, a full sheet cake pan. So there we go. And we've got another, let's see, it's been 2, so we have about 2 more hours. It has been 3 hours, I guess. Is that what it's been? So this is my 3rd or 4th time. Let's see, we started it at what? 5:30? 6 or 7 or 8 or 9? Well, it's 9 o'clock. I didn't get in here right away. And this actually looks really good. Hang on, let me check the other one. Because I don't always focus on getting it all the way cooked, because then I use this, I microwave it throughout the week. The point of chopping it up, though, just so you know, is so you don't have one big meatloaf. But I think it's been 3.5 hours. I was on the phone, so I had to pause. I didn't get in here fast enough. So it's been, 3.5 hours, because it's 9 o'clock, and I think I started this around 5:30-ish. So, there we go. So now I'm going to do my next step, and I'll show you what that is. So now I serve it up. Before I get started, do not comment about me using plastic. Well, you can. It's going to fall on deaf ears. Plastic is not the thing that's going to kill me. There's a whole lot of other things in life that's going to kill me. And I appreciate the fact that you don't use plastic. And but yeah, I use plastic, and I'm not going to stop using plastic. So I am making these into 7-ounce servings. So that's just what works out for me and my macros. So I'm going to serve these up into 7-ounce servings, and we'll see how many I get. Sometimes it varies, because sometimes the meat cooks down a little more than others, and sometimes I've gotten 17 servings, I've gotten 15 servings. It really just kind of depends. So, and it depends on if I do 7.3, 7.6. So anyway, so I'm going to get these served out, and we'll see how many we get. I went ahead and put my apron on, because this could get messy. This is my Catch Up with Jesus. Let us praise and relish him, because he loves me from my head to my toes. This is my Jesus apron. So now we are going to pour the rendered fat and broth into this pan. And any excess of the meat that's left in the bottom. So this does not fit in my freezer. So I'm going to have to put this in my chest freezer. But I'm going to let it cool down for a while and kind of harden up a little bit, because if I do that, then, like if I do it right now, if it tips real easy, then it'll spill out, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to let this cool off for a while, and then we'll put it in my freezer. Now, oddly enough, it does fit in my refrigerator. So obviously my refrigerator is wider than my freezer side, but it does fit in here perfectly. So I'm just going to let it sit in there to stiffen up, and then we'll put it in the freezer, because whenever I break it up into bite-sized pieces for the dogs, I want it to be like frozen solid. So that may be, who knows when, but this video may take me 2 or 3 days, but all right, let's get on to the other part. So here you can see I have 6 ground beefs, and over here I have 9. So it made 15. Look at that, I did math on the fly. It made 15 servings of 7-ounce ground beefs. So there we go. Now I'm going to get them put up in my freezer. So here they are. I have pulled out the things that were in the back of the freezer. and I push these in. And so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5 days worth of meat right here in this meal prep. And I already had 5 days of food, so, or 5 meals. So, so how many did I say? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 days worth of food right here. So that's how I do. And then I just house it in the freezer. And then I keep a 4-day rotation of food. I know this is a mess right here, but I keep a 4 days worth rotation of food. These are not included. So this is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. When I eat Saturday, I'll pull Sundays forward and I'll add another one. So I keep 4 days of food in my refrigerator, defrosting at all times. And I'll show you the dog treats whenever, oh, where are they? I'll show you the dog treats whenever that's all frozen and done. So this is a smaller version because I had ground beef cooking for something else today. And you can see it's kind of starting to, so what I did was I came in after about an hour and I made cuts to make it into cubes. And this, the dark side, that is actually the liquid from the broth. This white side, that is the fat. So it is starting to kind of crystallize a little bit. And so right now I'm just kind of loosening it from the pan. Then I'm going to put it back in the freezer. But I'm just kind of showing you. Usually, I don't know. I don't always come in and mess with it until it's all the way frozen. This time I did. It's all right. It is what it is. But they're going to eat it whether it's in big chunks or little chunks. So anyway, yeah. So now I'm going to put this back in the freezer until it hardens up. And then I'll put it into a container and I'll show you how I use it. Like this, there's some that I've already done. You can see how the dark brown, it does crystallize and become hardened. So this is what I do. Let's scoot back so you all can see. Sit. Sammy. And I just give these little chunks. Oh, you can't see. Anyway, these broken little pieces, they don't care if it's a big piece or little piece. Callie. Lulu. Buddy. See, all they care about is getting a bite. Sammy. Baxter. And then up, Callie. Here go, Bub. And Luke. So that's, usually I just give them one little bite each time. But that's what I call fat bombs for my dogs. And so when these freeze up, I'll put them into here. And that's what I give for my dogs for their treats. Talk about a holistic treat. You don't get much holistic than straight off an animal. All right. That's it. Thanks. Bye. This is how it looks when I get impatient. I just scoop them out and I put them in the container and they'll eat them. They don't care. I just get impatient and I stick them in, and then whenever I pull them out later, I'll just kind of beat them around, and again, they'll break up into little pieces. But they're not liquid. It's just kind of gel, kind of gelatinous. So this is how it is whenever I get impatient. Sometimes I'm impatient, sometimes I'm not. So now I'm going to maybe have one more of these. If I was patient, then I could put them in a Ziploc bag. If you don't add water to your meat while it's cooking, you might not have this issue. You might, I don't know. I just always add water. Evidently there's somebody walking outside. Anyway, let me get these. This might end up making 4 containers worth. So this was a total of 15 pounds of ground beef because I had ground beef cooking for something else. That's a lot of dog treats, depending on how many. If you have big dogs or little dogs or whatever, I understand some dogs can't handle it, and if that's the case, then don't do it. You do what your dogs are okay with. My dogs are just fine with this. Except Lou is not very fine right now. There you go. We got four containers of fat bombs for my dogs. So I'll put these in the freezer, and there we go.